Okay. So exam 3. So let's go through 8.1. Let's do a couple examples. Solve the triangle. And determine if you have one, two, or no triangles. No triangle. Okay. So in this example, all they're going to give us is capital A, capital C, lowercase c, and that's it. So we said that uh, if we were given two angles or three sides, then we should know we only have one triangle. Okay. So we have two angles here. So we can solve for that b, no problem, right? So we should already know it's going to be 1. Step 1, find capital B. So B is equal to 180 minus the other two angles. That would be 135, right? So we have B. I'm going to box the ones that we find. Okay. And all we have to do really is find A and B using the law of sines. Okay, since we have an angle and its opposite side, you can do law of sines. This is going to be case 1, I think. So here we go. You're going to solve for a little a first. Make sure you write A over sine A and set it equal to the stuff that has both parts, the whole pair, the little c over sine c. Multiply both sides by sine A, and you'll get to here. I'll skip this step here. Is that cool? This is step 2. Find A. Got to write that. So I skipped one step from here to here. Is that okay? All right. So at that point, just plug stuff in. 80.4 sine of 20 over sine 25. What is that going to be? I don't know. 80.4 sine 20 over sine 25. 65.1. That's little a. 65.1. Step 3, do the same thing for little c, or sorry, little b. So start with little b. over sine B equal to the pair that has both. Always use the one that was given. I don't recommend using the one that you found, even though this is a complete pair now. This was given, so there's no way it could be wrong. If I use this and I messed up along the way, then I'm going to mess this up, right? So it's just extra safety. Also, it could be more rounding in things that you find. So b over sine b equal to c over sine c. Solve for little b, multiply both sides by sine b. That'll get us to c sine b over sine c, which is 80.4 sine of 135 over sine 25. Okay. Any questions on this problem? We found all the missing parts. Are there any questions on 8.1? Yeah, I'd say stick with degrees for the whole exam. I'm not going to give you radians. All right. Any other question on number 1? So we didn't have to check there was more than one triangle because we were given 2 angles. Okay.
So when you're only given like one, I know there's like a possibility for two terms.
I'll say that one more time. Sorry.
So like when you're given like one angle, is that like when you're determining?
Yeah,
Uh,
pretty much. If that's going to be case. So you have the opposite side, but you're only given one angle. So you use law of sines, which will then determine. You could have 2 or none. So if you have an example, you only have one angle, then yeah, you should check. So let's do that next. You guys cool on this page? Yeah, if you see like 3 sides right away, just don't even worry about uh, multiple triangles. If you have 3 sides, that means a triangle exists, right? So why would you be asking, does it exist, or is there more than one? You can see it, right? Does that make sense? If you have 3 sides, that means you could draw it. It's kind of like saying this, right? If you see this and then start asking me, is there another one? I'm like, no, you have it. Sounds weird, right? So we'll do that in a second. 8.1. So on this one, we'll check. And determine, so solve the triangle and determine if you have 1, 2, or 0 triangles. All right. On this one, all they give us is capital A and its opposite side. Okay, so since I have 2 missing angles, there could be a possibility of 2 triangles. So let's check. Let's find out. But if you had all 3 sides to begin with, then you don't have to check, because that means a triangle has been formed. Okay. All right, so step 1, let's find capital B. So start the same way as before. Sine b over little b is equal to, use the pair that has both parts, sine a over little a, and then solve for capital B. So first step, multiply both sides by b. That gets us to little b sine a over little a. Take the inverse of both sides, that gets you to b equal to sine inverse of b sine a over little a. So I skipped the step we've done many times, but if you don't see it, let me know. So do you see on step one right here, multiply both sides by lowercase b. That cancels this b and gets it up top. Now I need to cancel sine, so I introduce sine inverse on both sides. So that cancels the sine. And we get to here. Is that okay? So at that point, you just plug stuff in. So that would be 7 sine 45 over 7 root 2. So that would actually become what? 30 degrees. So use your calculator, you're going to get 30. No, that you have to check B2. So B1 is equal to 30 degrees. B2 is 180 minus B1, which is 180 minus 30. 150. All right, so step 2. Determine if B1 and B2 are let me phrase this better. Determine if B1 plus A is less than 180 and B2 plus A is less than 180. If both are less than 180, then we have two triangles and life sucks. So if only one of them works, then you have one triangle. If you get an error at this point here, solving for one angle, you should stop and say there is no triangle. Okay? Does that make sense? So we got to check. Step 2 is just checking. So
I didn't know to check.
when do we check? Basically, when you have this scenario, we have two missing angles. So when that happens, you could have that possibility. But if you're given two angles to begin with, or three sides, you don't have to check. Like you're guaranteed one triangle. Okay. So it's only going to give you only one angle. So here we go. So is A plus B1, let me write it the same way I did before. So is B1 plus A less than 180. Well, that would be 30 plus 45. And that is indeed less than 180, right? We're good. Is B2 plus A less than 180? Well, that would be 150 plus 45. No, right? So this tells us we only have one triangle. So we don't have to worry about it. Now all we need to do is find the other sides. Yeah. It'll happen here. Like when you try to find your first angle, you will get an error. It'll be impossible. Okay. So we found B to be 30, right? So we can find C, no problem. So step 3. Now that we know we don't have to worry about all that, find C. C is equal to 180 minus A minus B, which is 180 minus 45 minus 30, which is 105. Any questions so far on number 2? Is it okay? You guys cool on this page? All right. Now you just need to find that missing side, right? Step 4. Step 4. Find little c. So start the same way. Little c over sine c equal to the part that had both pairs. So it was the a's. A over sine a. Solve for little c. Right, you can just do it over here, I guess. That doesn't matter. C would equal a sine c over sine a. Okay. Plug it all in. That's going to be a is 7 root 2 sine of 105 over sine 45. $13.5. All right, so any questions on step 4 or beginning or the end? Middle?
So let's say you did find like 2 triangles. Then you would have to like find like double this.
Pretty much, yeah. You'd have to find So you would get those two B's at work. So both of those B's will have a different C that goes with it and a different little c. So depending what you're given, right? So what you're given will be fixed. Like these will be fixed, these three. But you're gonna have two pairs of these and two B's. Okay. So let's do one of those. I think I have one here somewhere. Yeah. So still 8.1. Solve the triangle and determine if there are 1, 2, or 0. Okay, so solve the triangle. If you have more than one, we'll solve both, basically. If you have none, then cool. That's the best scenario, I think. Okay. So they give us capital A and lowercase a. Capital B is not there. Capital C is not there. Lowercase b is there. So this one will have two triangles. So just to be ready, we're going to have, we'll call this B1, C1, C1. These will be fixed for the second triangle. So just to stay organized, doesn't matter. B2 will be different. Okay, so we got triangle 1 and triangle 2. So let's pretend we didn't know that, because I'm not going to tell you. So step 1. Step 1, find capital B. B is equal to, oh, actually, let me not skip too much. Got to write the sine B over B. So we always start. Set it equal to the pair that we're given. Sine A over A. Solve for B like we did before. We get to here by multiplying by little b. And then introduce the inverse, which will cancel the sign. That gets us to here. So this is going to be B1, technically, right? But we'll worry about that in a second. So B is equal to sine inverse of little b, 248.6, sine of 43.1 over 186.2. Okay. So let's round in one decimal place, 65.8. So that is my B1 right here. All right, so we got to check, right? So B1 is equal to 65.8. B2 is equal to 180 minus B1, which will be 180 minus 65.8. Will be 114.2. Looks like a 9. Okay. So step 2 is we got to check, do we have two triangles, one or whatever, right? We for sure have at least one, because this worked out. So step 2, determine if B1 plus A is less than 180 and B2 plus A is less than 180. So we'll check right here. B1 plus A is equal to 65.8 plus 43.1. That is indeed less than 180, right? We're good. Now let's check again. Is B2 plus A less than 180? That's 114.2 plus 43.1. That is less than 180. That's like, what, 157. So this right here, since both are less than 180, then we have two triangles. That's how we determine. So we're going to use B2. That's when this is when you decide, okay, I'm going to need a new set right here, two sets. Does that make sense? Like, we shouldn't assume to begin with. B2 is 114.2. Okay. So let's find the two C's, the capital C's. Because you think about it, right? We got two angles for both triangles, so these C's right here will be super easy to find. So we can do that in one step. So step 3, find C1 and C2, the angles. So C1 will equal 180 degrees minus A minus B1. C2 will equal 180 degrees minus A minus B2. That is 180 minus 43.1 minus that B we found. $114, right? I wrote that weird. 114. Okay. Should be 71.1, right? And 22.7. You guys still with me? I know this one's a long one. Does it make sense? All the steps still okay? $71.1, 22.7. Okay. All right then. And then the next page, we're gonna find C1 and C2. And those formulas will be exactly the same. All you gotta do is change the angles. Just make sure you're using parts from triangle 1 for C1, parts for triangle 2 for C2. That's all you gotta do. Okay. You guys cool on this page. There's no rush. Okay. Turn the page. Step 4. Find C1 and C2. Should say the small ones. Like if I write it tiny, it looks like lowercase, right? I don't know. I can't write the difference. Okay, so this is what we're gonna do. Write C1 on top, so we don't mix anything up. Sine of C1 equal to A over sine A. These are fixed, so you don't have to write the A1 whatever. It's the same thing. So right away, you'll find that C1 is equal to A sine of C1 over sine of A. This will be 186.2 sine of 71.8 over sine of 43.1. Okay. So this would be 258.9. These triangles are pretty huge. Okay, now same thing for C2. Notice not much is going to change. So solve for C2, and you get almost the exact same thing. Just replace the C2s. See what I mean? All right, it's the same formula, these two. I'm only changing that C1 and C2. Okay, so it'll be 186.2 sine of 22.7 over sine of 43.1. That's it. That's all this missing side for triangle 1 and triangle 2. And the angles. Any questions about this? Is that okay? Maybe. I think that's enough for 8.1. Let's do an 8.2, then I'll return your exams. Law of cosines. So the beauty of law of cosine is you don't have to worry about multiple triangles.
With the,
Uh-huh.
with the 186.2 and science 71.8, I think it's 71.
71. Oh, right. The answer?
No, the science 71.8, the angle is 71.1.
Oh, then I put an 8 back on. Yeah. Yeah, 71.1.
And that makes it 2.8, like,
Thank you. 248.6. Yeah. Okay. So that was C1. Hold on, let me double check everything. The only C1 was messed up, right? This one. Okay. Thank you. I hate to give you fake notes. All right. Solve the triangle. On this one, they're not giving me A or B. Giving me a C of 133.4. Actually, did they? No, didn't give me that either. All they gave me was sides. Lowercase a is 5. Lowercase b is 8. Lowercase c is 12. That's all they gave us. This is what I was saying earlier. They're basically telling you one triangle exists because you have 3 sides. So if you have 3 sides, you don't have to worry about multiple triangles. So anytime you're doing law of cosines, you don't have to worry about multiple triangles. So case 3 and case 4, if you have no choice and you have to do law of cosines, you only have one triangle. Does that make sense? So you don't have to think about it. All right, so in the notes I gave you the formulas for capital A. I said A is equal to cosine inverse. So you didn't have to work too hard, just plug it in. B squared plus C squared minus A squared over 2BC. So that would be equal to cosine inverse of a b is 8 squared plus 12 squared minus 5 squared over 2 times 8 times 12. So I think that is something. Oops. 17.6. Okay, so got one angle. So we don't think about any triangle stuff or multiple triangles. Formula for B is cosine inverse of a squared plus c squared minus b squared over 2ac. So that would be cosine inverse of 5 squared plus 12 squared minus 8 squared divided by 2 times 5 times 12. You guys get about 29? It's around twice. Once you have two angles, the rest is easy, right? A will equal 180 minus A minus B. So 180 minus 17.6 minus 29. So not too bad, right? Okay. So remember, when you're using law of cosines, to find angles, you have to have all the sides. If you're missing a side, you cannot use it. So you have to either find the side first or use law of sines. Okay. Any question number 4 here? Okay. So I'm hoping going over it once, having you do homework, going over it again, it'll make you understand it better. Okay, so don't stop practicing. We're gonna spend the whole week just rehashing everything. Okay. Let's pass your test back. We'll stop this thing.